So if you're following along, watching live on the webcast, we are live here at beautiful Shalom Park, Edmonton, Alberta, about to kick off the Under-21 World Waterski Championships. First skier off the dock will be Evan Krause kicking it off, hometown boy. He's up early looking to set the pace. Whole Krause family here watching on. Most importantly, our host Ken Nelson up here watching. Check. So eyes on the water. Our first skier, Evan Krause. Coming out on his first of two 20-second passes, electing to start with the hand run. Making it all the way through the hand run, a pair of wake fives, couple of flips, finishing with the half cab. Starting strong here at the Under-21 World Championship. Hometown boy Evan Krause starting things off super strong. He's got one more pass coming up next. Beautiful stand-up run, going down a little bit earlier than he wanted on that toe run, but still a big cheer from the Great Britain crowd. Friend and fellow competitor Joe Poland walking down the bank to cheer on his teammate. Mic check. Mic check. So the Nautique towboat. Take Jack down to the far end. Each tricker does get 2 20-second passes to accumulate as many points as possible. Each trick has a set point value. 3 judges down below me watching these trick skiers on video, making sure they execute them properly. Will award if they have done them credit or not. Totals will be tallied. At the end of the day, the person with the highest score wins. Jack Engel coming back for a second of 2 passes, likely his toe pass, as we saw him come out earlier on the hand pass. So conditions just absolutely perfect here in Edmonton. Beautiful Shalom Park treating us well as always. Just a breath of a wind. Slight cloud cover, a little cool, but an excellent day for some excellent water skiing. Chance to see the best water skiers in the world under 21 years of age right now. Jack Engels showing us his stuff on the toe path with the toe 5 back. Foot attached in the rope, standing and balancing on one leg, twisting and turning, wrapping in and out of the rope. He has 20 seconds, going down right at the end there on the toe wrapping. Looked to be right towards the end of his run, so great skiing from him. Did go down on both runs, but both falls did look to be late in the run, so we'll be looking to the judges and updating you with scores as soon as we have them. Follow along on worldwaterskiers.com. We are webcasting live. We'll be posting live results. So if you're watching at home, if you're on the bank, make sure you check out worldwaterskiers.com for all the information. As the weekend goes, our webcast will be ramping up. Saturday, Sunday, we will be doing replays, so even you down on the bank, if you're looking to see replays, keep up with the live action. Head to worldwaterskiers.com. Right now we are underway with our first event here at the U21 World Championships men's trick. Starting off with Series 3. Starting the day off, we had Evan Krause, local hometown boy here, no stranger to the waters at Shalom Park, stomping both of his runs, setting us off strong. Following him, we had Ben Turrup from Great Britain, and that was just Jack Engel from New Zealand. 10 skiers in this series. Order has been selected randomly in the series. The 4 selected was Luca Rockenwald. He's on the water now. Starting off with some wake jumps. He looks too like he's going to start with his hand pass. Series of flips and spins. Starting off with the wake back-to-backs. Going into some wake 5s. Always a risky trick, needing to do the handle pass, and now he's into the flips here at the end of his run. He's got the back roll and the reverse. Back flip with a back landing. Backflip 180, side slide reverse at the end, but there you go. Stand up first pass for Luca, representing Austria. Skiing from all of our skiers out there. Evan Krause really kicking things off, starting the day off, 2 stand-up passes. We are still waiting on our judges' scores on that, but we will be updating you live as soon as we have them. That was our 4th skier of the day, Men's Series 3 preliminary trick. Following them, we moved to Series 2, and then on to Series 1. Each series is selected by score. So as the series number gets higher, as do the personal bests of the skiers. The order within each series is selected randomly. The next skier selected was Tane Gibson, representing New Zealand. That beautiful blue and gray Nautique towboat pulling him into the course. So we've seen most of our athletes coming out on the hand pass. A little bit of a bobble there on the wake back-to-back. Got his composure back, moving into the flips. Casing the wake a little on the first flip. He's through to the second one, backflip and reverse. Into the back position, going for the half cab. Just coming up a little short, casing that wake, but no shortness on effort there. Hanging onto the handle to the bitter end. But he's not done yet. He will get his second of the 2 passes coming up next. So for those of you following along at home, this is our prelim webcast. I have angles from the boat and up here, my view on top of the tower. Webcast will be ramping up as the weekend goes on. More camera angles, video replay, interviews with the skiers, all coming up for the final days. World Water Skiers, happy to bring you this webcast for the preliminary round. We know a lot of these athletes travel from all over the world for the honor to compete here. Family members watching from all over the planet, cheering on their family, their friends. Right now we are waiting for the second pass of Tane Gibson, representing New Zealand. Already saw fellow teammate Jack Engel out on the water. There is a team aspect to this competition. So each country has submitted a team of their best athletes. Their scores will be tallied. And at the end, one country will be declared. Eyes on the water. Tane Gibson coming back for his second of 2 passes, the toe pass. For anyone who's ever tried to stand on a trick ski, just an absolutely slick surface. So hard to stand up on top of, let alone balancing yourself on top of the water, one-legged, foot in the rope. Tane showing us his stuff out there. Just going down at the end of his toe pass on the toe wrapping. But great skiing from him, our second skier so far from New Zealand. So we approach the halfway mark here in men's Series 3 preliminary trick round. All these athletes looking for a spot in. Some of these athletes also competing in the overall round. So this trick event being the start to their overall score. So going to look out to come out strong, set a strong score. It is important to note that we do have overall skiers competing in all three events: slalom skiing, trick skiing, and jumping. So these athletes do have to dedicate time to train in all three events, sometimes skiing 5-6 times a day. On the water all the way from Chile, Pedro Brown Benzanilla out on his hand pass, making it all the way through. Stand up 20-second hand pass for the young man from Chile. So there is a camera in the boat that is recording each one of these skiers, broadcasting the signal up here to the judges' tower. 3 of the best judges in the world watching down below to see how each trick is executed, making sure it's done properly, executed with proper credit. That means if they're doing a wake jump, edging off the wake, spinning, they remain in the air for the duration of the spin. They're doing a ski line trick, making sure they jump over the rope while the rope is not in the water, again completing the full spin while outside of the water. On any surface spins, the judges are judging to make sure the motion is continuous. They continue to spin without any breaks or pauses in the middle. So our judge is very highly trained, some of the best in the world, and they're keeping a close eye on these skiers, making sure they execute each trick perfectly, making sure they earn each and every point. And each point in tricking does have a set point value. Point lead, and a winner is declared. But right now in the preliminary round, these guys just looking for a spot in the finals. And on the water, Pedro Brown. So if you look on the water, there's 2 orange buoys out there. Those are the timing buoys, so the athletes can start any time after that, and that is when the time starts. Right now, Pedro making his way through his toe pass. Toe wake back, toe wake front. Looks to be taking off the toe strap. Going to get in some extra hand pass here. And going for the line back. So took his foot off the ski, stepped over the rope, going backwards, just losing the handle. A round of applause, Pedro Brown. That will conclude his preliminary trick round here at the 2019 Under-21 World Waterski Championships. So we are live here from Edmonton, Alberta. Under 21 World Waterski Championship. So we have some preliminary scores coming out. First skier off the dock was our hometown boy, Evan Krause, with a score 5,200 points. I can ask him right now, is that a personal best, Evan? An 800-point personal best to start off the U21 World Waterski Championships. And from my experience from coming here to Shalom Park every year and announcing new personal bests going down, I don't think that'll be the last personal best we see here. But first skier off the dock, 5,200 points, Evan Krause. If you could all see the smile on his face up here. But right now on the water, Hugh Donaldson from New Zealand, our third athlete from New Zealand so far on the water. Foot in the rope, making his way through the toe pass. The toe wake back-to-back, toe wake front. Going in for the toe 5 front, so a 540 wrapping himself into the rope, just not quite pulling the rope in enough, and as it came tight, he wasn't forward all the way and pulling his feet out from underneath him. So an unfortunate fall there on the toe 5 front for Hugh Donaldson. That just leaves 3 athletes left in Series 3. Aaron Davies, Benjamin Lutz, and George Donaldson. So I will be updating scores live as we get them from our judges. One score through so far. Evan Krause, 5,200 point, 800 point personal best. So Team Canada starting off strong. After Evan, we had Benjamin Trupp, Jack Engel, Luca Rockenwald, Tane Gibson, Pedro Brown, and the last athlete we saw was Hugh Donaldson. And that means the next athlete on the water will be Aaron Davies, representing Great Britain. Currently winning the Team Spirit Award here. Most amount of flags in the crowd. Team Great Britain. Great work. Aaron Davies on his hand pass. See, Aaron, a very tall athlete, one of the tallest skiers you'll see here. Really purpose-built slalom skier, but very good on the trick ski. Not easy for a man that tall to get up in the air. Making it through the flip and reverse. Gutsy performance there, trying to hang on, just coming up a little on that reverse backflip. It looked to be towards the end of that run. Got through lots of tricks before that, accumulated lots of points. And he still has one 20-second run left to see what he can do. His toe pass. From chatting with him earlier, it is his strongest of the 2 passes. Next score we have coming up, Benjamin Trupp, 5,400 points. 5,400 points for Ben, putting him just 200 points ahead of Evan Krause, 5,200 points. So there are our leaders right now. First 2 athletes of the day over 5,000 points. As we follow along at home, you can sort of see the breakdown there in Ben's run. His first run is hand run, the run with the flips. in the Wake Fives he was able to perform. He was able to get 3,370 points in that run. So the bulk of his points coming from that run, scoring 30 points on the toe pass. So you can really see the difference in some of these athletes. Some of them will score more points on the hand run. Some will score more points on the toe run. And speaking to Aaron before the tournament, he has a stronger toe pass than he does hand pass. So we're going to see how many points he's able to accumulate on his toe pass. So the athletes do get an opportunity to rest down the end of the lake, often having two different skis. One ski more designed for the hand pass, usually edges a little bit stronger, better for the flips and the spins and the wake tricks. Then their toe ski, so the ski that Aaron will be putting on now, usually a little bit more slippery, a little bit more of a slick surface to aid in those surface spins. So the towboat dropping Aaron down the far end. He's going to switch his equipment. He's now on the toe ski. He's got his foot in the toe strap. That beautiful Nautique towboat tows Aaron into the course for his second of two 20-second passes. Aaron's height does give him a big advantage in the slalom event, but here in the trick event, it does add leverage. It is harder for him to keep that tall frame up on top of the ski, but he's doing an excellent job of it, making it all the way through the toe run, throws the fists. Flags are flying. A stand-up toe run for Aaron Davies, leaving just two more skiers left in this Series 3 round. Coming up next, representing the U.S., Benjamin Lutz. So just two skiers left in Series 3. On the water, representing the United States of America, Benjamin Lutz. So scores do continue to come through here. Jack Engel, 2,440 points. Meaning our leader is still Benjamin. 5,400 points. Evan Krause, 5,200 points. And now Jack Engel, 2,440 points. But Benjamin Lutz on the water. Going for the backflip there. Just coming up a little bit short. Case in the wake. But he is pretty far down the lake. That does look like to be a fall late in this first pass. As we know, he will get one more. Scores continue to come in. Luca Rockenwald, 5,590 points. So he is our new leader. Sneaking ahead of Ben, 5,400 points. We mentioned earlier Evan Krause, 5,200 points. Jack Engel, 2,440 points. And this is the preliminary round, so these athletes looking to vie for a spot in the finals, as well as starting off to a strong overall round. In my opinion, one of the most difficult things to do in sports is competing in the over event in water skiing. 3 completely different events with very little crossover. I know that Benjamin, very, very strong jump skier, has really come on strong, has great technique. It's put up some huge scores as a junior skier, and it's very impressive to see that he's not just a jump specialist. He takes time to train the other events as well. Right now out there on the trick ski. Very talented as well, so a very talented, very athletic young man. I think we're going to see some very, very big jumps from him in the future, and that huge jump score really helps him out in the overall, really kind of sets him apart, gets him that big step up. See him on the back of the boat, shaking things up, getting ready for his second pass. Things a little chilly here this morning in Edmonton. So some of our athletes from down south may be feeling a little chilly this morning. But conditions absolutely perfect. Almost no wind. Slight cloud cover, but absolutely perfect. And as always here at Shalom Park, I have the honor of coming here every year. One of the most beautiful, spectacular sites in all of the world. And Ken and Donna are so gracious in hosting us and having us here. So just finishing up his equipment change. Coming back into the course for his second of two passes, Benjamin Lutz. All right, starting off, toe back, toe front, into a toe side slide. So if you saw there, sliding the ski 90 degrees. He's elected to start and end off with his flips. Case in the wake, hanging on. Just a huge display of strength there, able to hang that on, pull it out. Huge display of strength there, able to hang on to that wake case, standing up that backflip, thumbs up from shore. That will conclude his preliminary round here at the Under-21 World Waterski Championships. So as we go, scores continue to come out. Tane Gibson, 2,340 points, putting him just behind teammate Jack Engel, the score of 2,440 points. Our first skier, Evan Krause, sitting in third, 5,200 points. Ben Trupp, 5,400 points. And our current leader, Luca Rockenwald, 5,590 points. So 3 skiers so far over that 5,000 point mark. As the day goes, we will see those scores start to increase. Some of our top seeded skiers capable of tricking in excess of 10,000. And I believe we even have some competitors here who have reached the 11,000 point mark. So stay tuned, scores continue to increase. And this is our last skier in Series 3 trick, George Donaldson representing New Zealand, our 4th skier from New Zealand of the day. Also electing to start with his hand pass. Wrapped up in the rope. Starting off with a huge wake 5 back. Finishes off with the flip and the reverse. Little bit of a butt drop land. The first flip, used it to bounce back up straight into the second flip. That was an excellent recovery there. And a stand-up first pass for George Donaldson. So as we get a shot on the webcast there, the New Zealand team being coached by overall legend Kyle Eade. Runs Ski Fluid down in Florida. Kyle, one of the best, most elite overall skiers of all time, and has really come on strong as a coach lately. Been coaching these New Zealand athletes and bunch of skiers out of Ski Fluid, and it's been great to see what Kyle do with these skiers, and it's awesome to see him out here with Team New Zealand. So we get a shot here on the back of the boat as George changes equipment. As we talked about, the hand ski, typically a more aggressive ski, holds the water a bit better, lends itself to be a little bit better for the flip tricks, the ski line tricks, and the wake tricks. Typically, skiers will switch to a more slippery ski for the tow run. Aids in less friction, makes it easier to wrap in and out of the rope. So George is finishing up his equipment change, attaching his foot to the rope. He'll be coming back for his second of 2-time 20-second passes, already standing up his first pass. And he'll be looking to challenge our current leader, Luca Rockenwald, 5,590 points. You can see that beautiful scenery as he comes around the island here. Just an unbelievable view from up here in the Judges Tower. If you're following along on worldwaterskiers.com, you get to see my standing 4 stories above the water, getting a chance to see the most talented under 21 water skiers in the world. And right now, George Donaldson showing us what he can do, making his way through the tow pass. Finishing off with a reverse toe wake back. Not an easy trick at all, just going down a little short. Looked to be towards the end of his run. That's a great performance from George Donaldson from New Zealand, making it all the way through pass number 1, going down late on pass number 2. And that does conclude Men's Series 3 in the preliminary round, but we move directly on to Series 2. So just a quick recap of what we've seen so far. 10 athletes off the dock. Evan Krause, Benjamin Turrup, Jack Engel, Luca Rockenwold, Tane Gibson, Pedro Brown, Hugh Donaldson, Aaron Davies, Benjamin Lutz, and George Donald. So we are 10 trickers into the under 21 World Waterski Championships. Our current leader, Luca Rockenwald, 5,590 points. Third place, Benjamin Turrup, 5,400 points. And Evan Krause sitting in third, 5,200 points. They are our leaders. As we move into Series 2, first skier off the dock, representing Canada, will be Thomas Dagg. Following him, we will have Levi Curtin, Jack Christie, Ernst Nielsen, Ethan McKinnon, Ryan Canepa, Sean Krause, Bailey Christie, Quinn Haynes, Carlo and Danny Texeter. And those will be our skiers in Men's Series 2. Just doing a quick boat crew change here in between series. And then that towboat, beautiful Nautique blue and silver boat, will bring back Canada's own Thomas Dagg. Thomas, another one of those athletes who does compete in all 3 events. Also an avid snow ski racer. So he does only train on the water half the year. The other half the year he is competing and training on snow. So really having to balance his time, not only in the 3 disciplines of water skiing, slalom skiing, trick skiing, and jump skiing, but also dedicating time at Clarkson University and skiing on their competitive racing downhill team as well. So Thomas is just such a strong athlete. I've had the pleasure of working with this young man for several years, and he's just so dedicated. And really what the thing I think sums Thomas up more than anything is he likes to have fun out there on the water. during this break, it's important to recognize our sponsors. So a huge thank you to our sponsors. Events like these do not happen without the help of our sponsors. Nautique Boats, Wizard Lake Marine, PCM Engines, Zero Off, D3 Skis, PTW Energy Services, UFA Coupe, White Ridge Incorporated, Bellatrix, Monarch Flooring, Bishop and Mackenzie, NBS Auto, Rick Lehman, the Cooper Brothers, Tim Savo, the Windham Hotel, and Vite 8 Design. So big thank you to all of our sponsors. These events do not happen without our sponsors. So just minutes underway from starting Series 2. That ski nautique will go up and down the lake doing a phantom pass. We'll have an opportunity to admire that beautiful boat. Gray meadow flake. That excellent blue really complements the green scenery here. A beautiful Shalom Park. So we'll get a chance to see that boat go up and down one time. Simulated phantom pass. It will go back to the starting dock to pick up Canada's own Thomas Dagg. As that boat goes by, you get a chance to just admire that excellent trick wake they've developed on this new boat, really pushing athletes farther and the trick scores higher. It's excellent to see companies like Nautique sponsor these events and support our young athletes. These are the future champions of our sport, and as we move into Series 1 here, we have athletes the likes of Pato Font, current junior world record holder, Daniel Flichenko, Joe Poland, Rob Hazelwood. Some of these guys will be the next skiers we see on the Pro Tour, and having Nautique support an event like the Under-21 World Waterski Championships is just so important to help keeping this sport grow. So scores continue to come in. Pedro Brown, 1,470 points. Currently has him in 7th place. Also score for Hugh Donaldson coming in, 3,480 points. Sits him currently in 4th place. Another great opportunity to thank our hosts, Ken and Donna Nelson. Always go above and beyond to give back to the sport, hosting many tournaments here over the years. I usually come in once a year to do the Canadian Open and to open up their home in this beautiful lake so that we have the opportunity to have this Under-21 World Waterski Championships here. We're just so appreciative, and as you look out right now, conditions just absolutely perfect. Had some rough weather over the last few days, some wind and some cold, but it looks like Mother Nature's cooperating today, and Shalom Park's delivering just another absolutely perfect, gorgeous day of water skiing. So he has his ski on, the rope is tightening up. As I mentioned earlier, Thomas, most well known for having fun on the water, diving in off the dock for the start. This is our first skier in men's Series 2 preliminary trick. So these athletes looking for a spot in the finals as well as to start off their overall round strong. We mentioned Thomas, one of the skiers competing in the overall, training in all 3 events, slalom, trick, and jump. Right now on the water, starting with his hand pass. Let's see what he can do, this young man from Canada, Thomas Dagg. Great stand-up pass from Thomas Dagg of Canada. Stomps 2 front flips. Excellent pass from him. You can really see his athleticism out there, not only competing in all 3 events, but also an avid downhill racer. Only Waterski's half of the year. And as I watch on the replay, that huge reverse front flip for that stand-up hand run. Big fist throw at the end. He's happy. Thomas just changing equipment. Hopping in the water, getting ready for his second pass, his toe pass. Saw a very impressive opening run. Standing up his hand pass. Score coming out for Benjamin Lutz, 1,350 points. Currently in 9th. Pedro Brown, 1,470 points. Following him, we have Tane Gibson, 2,340 points. Jack Engel, 2,440 points. Hugh Donaldson, 3,480 points. Aaron Davies, 3,520 points. Evan Krause, 5,200. Benjamin Turrup, 5,400. And our leader, Luca Rockenwold, 5,590 points. But right now, eyes on the water. Thomas Dagg of Canada for his second of his 2 passes, his toe pass. Going down on his last trick in the toe run, the toe line back-to-back, but excellent tricking from the young man from Quebec, representing Canada. Great showing so far from the Canadians. Evan Krause, our first skier, with a personal best off the dock. Now Thomas Dagg coming out very strong with 2 strong trick passes. And a big shout out to his pinner there, Cole Grant, hanging onto that toe line back. our second tricker, Men's Series 2, Levi Curtin from Australia. Electing to start with the toe pass. First athlete of the day coming off with the toe pass first. And a stand-up toe pass for Levi Curtin. Another great performance here at Shalom Park 2019 Under-21 Waterski Championships. Yeah, it used to be called something else. Levi Curtin coming in, pass number 2. We also have a score come out for George Donaldson. 3,880 points. Moves him into 4th place. Levi making his way through his hand run. Just going down on that reverse mow, but an excellent hand pass. Appeared to be the last trick in his run, but great skiing. Levi Curtin from Australia. on the water, we have Jack Christie from Australia. Yeah, just if you want to start, sure. I'll go down there and play with the audio. I just haven't been able to play with it.
Good morning, everyone. Pleasure to be joining you here at the 2019 Under-21 World Waterski Championships here in beautiful Shillong Park. Just watch Jack Christie make his way through a pretty stellar tow pass. And I'd have to say I've been very impressed with the caliber of trick skiing this morning, even through Series 3. Most of the skiers we've seen so far have been overall skiers, where tricks is probably the weakest of the three events, but still throwing out some pretty solid scores to start. Jack Christie, he'll be one to watch in the slalom later on, probably tomorrow he'll ski. But looking to pick up some valuable team points for Australia here in the tricks. And set a good foundation for that with a great opening tow pass. Here we go, Jack Christie. Young man from Australia coming in for his hand pass. Big, tall, strapping young lad out of Queensland. Hit the flips now. Good so far. Getting now into the higher difficulty ones. What's he got to finish here? Ski line back, very tidy. In the reverse. You don't see that very often. Unfortunately falls there. Probably right on the boundary at 20 seconds though, so no huge concern. And two solid passes there from young Jack Christie. Through the skiers still to come. We have about 33 skiers in total in this preliminary round. Of course, 12 will make it through to the final. And looking at the caliber of skiers, if we went to the ranking list, I would think cut to make it through the final would be somewhere up around 7,000 points. Typically, that'll drop back just a shade. Of course, tricks are very difficult to stand up every time. But I think you're going to need in excess of 6,000 points at least to make it through to this trick final. Great scores already through the mid 5,000 point range, but we're going to see some slightly higher caliber performances to make it through that final.
Check.
Is that one? Yeah. It's not working? I'm just talking to myself. Oh, okay. Hello again, everyone. Just getting some complaints that I'm too quiet. Usually I get the opposite complaint. We are right in the thick of things though. Series 2 Under-21 men's trick elimination round. We go now to Denmark. Ernst Nielsen 2, and he'll be coming in rope on tow. Yeah, so for the skiers in Series 2, it really is a absolute must-stand-up kind of performance. You know, for them to make it through to the final, it's going to take an upset from some of the later seeds. So it becomes critical. They get absolutely every point they can out of these runs. A little bit shaky here is Ernst, but he looks to be recovering. How he's still on top of the water, I don't know. Pinner must have nerves of steel. And he just keeps throwing tricks out here. Very agricultural stuff, but in the end, a stand-up toe pass.
Check.
In front of me, it looks like we have a provisional score through for Thomas Dagg of Canada, who looks superb out there. Great hand pass, the 2 front flips, and it is a huge score, 7,610 points. And you would have to think that gives them a good shot at making it through to the final. And that's certainly going to put some pressure on the bloke still left on the dock. 7,610 points already in Series 2. Okay, Ernst of Denmark returning now for his hand pass. A stand-up pass, but a shaky one on toes. He's going to need to get absolutely everything here on hands if he's going to make his way through to this final. Interesting sequence of tricks so far, mixing in the regular turns with the flips. Mo is good though. He's got some high-scoring tricks here, does Ernst. The front flip. What's he got to finish? Inverted ski line back. I love it.
I got to say, Curtis, front flip's probably my favorite of the flips.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I love they're starting to do the twists in the front flips now. It's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, we'll see if they allow that Mob 5 of Joe Poland's, that front flip. Pretty impressive trick. Have you seen that one?
Look, I saw it a couple of years ago, and it was, I'm not really sure what I saw. I'm sure he's refined it a little bit and made it a little bit better.
I saw a recent one that was pretty good.
Yeah. No, I've actually seen videos where they look really, really nice. So we've got an interesting situation here with Thomas Dagg. I was talking earlier about my guess for the cut, and I was thinking it was going to be somewhere, you know, sort of 6,500 points or more. But with Thomas Dagg's score of 7,610 and 12 skiers in Series 1, that's effectively the cut now.
Yeah, basically, right? That you get right at the end of Series 2, that's going to make the mark. And looking at this series was broken up in a random order, not seeded in series. So, yeah, presumably that score of Thomas might be the one that we're looking at here for the cut to the finals. So 2 Canadians so far off the dock. 2 personal bests going down, Evan Krause, Thomas Dagg. So a huge, very strong start for the Canadian team.
Okay, we move now down to Australia. Ethan McKinnon on the water, and he too will be opening up rope on toe. Bit of a trend starting to develop here. Oh, the toe line back-to-back to finish.
Toe line back-to-back. Awesome finish. Great stand-up toe pass for him.
Yeah, if that last trick is in time, which by all accounts it should be, it was pretty smooth stuff there from Ethan. That's going to be a pretty solid scoring toe run there. Very backloaded though, which can be a problem, of course, if there are time constraints.
For this event earlier, I had mentioned that there are 3 judges and someone timing this event. I was actually corrected. For this World Championships, we actually have 5 trick judges judging and 2 judges judging the time. So we have 2 people sitting in there looking at the computer, watching to make sure that 20-second time starts right at the first movement of the skier, and they're pausing it right at the end to make sure they're as accurate as possible, making sure these skiers get all the points that they've earned.
Yeah, and that time is crucial. You know, that will be the difference, I'll say it right now, between someone who misses out and makes the final will be, you know, whether or not 1 or 2 frames that last trick was in time.
And that's part of the game of trick skiing. You usually leave your riskiest tricks for the end, hoping, you know, you get the most amount in, but in that event that you do land it, you're always playing with that guessing game. Is it in time? Is it not in time? And that can be the difference sometimes between a gold medal and a bronze medal, or sometimes even being, you know, on the podium or not at all.
For sure. And you know what's always blown me away is if you kind of talk to, you know, really high-level trick skiers, how good their internal body clock is on that 20 seconds, like how much they know whether or not something was in time or not and how well they can pick it. I mean, me, when I'm out there, you know, I trick for 30 seconds and I'm sure it's all in time. But, you know, these top guys, they know down to a split second what's in time and what isn't.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just that rhythm they get into, and you know, some of the athletes we have coming up later, you know, Pato Font, Neely, Ross, Anna Gay, you know, sort of the elite of the elite. And yeah, as soon as they come in, they'll let you know, my back-to-back was out of time or whatever else. It's pretty neat, and they're, you know, very rarely are they wrong. So that was an awesome first toe pass for Ethan, coming back on his hand pass. Typically for these Series 1 and 2 skiers, you're going to see the bulk of the points gained in the hand pass.
Yeah, especially for the guys.
Two stand-up passes, throws the fist. That's a happy young man concluding his preliminary round here at the U21 Worlds.
And so he should be. Those were 2 great passes. And it'll be close to see what that score is, but it may be just enough to put him in the mix for making a final here.
Yeah, that score there, just by my mental tally there, is going to put him right in that ballpark, that 7,500 range that we saw Thomas throw down earlier. So I think, again, that's going to be that number that we're looking at through the end of this series for the cut for the finals. And trick skiing, obviously, no given, one of the most unforgiving events I've ever competed in. A fall essentially just means you're out. Even for some of these top guys, going down could mean the difference between making finals or not. Just like we said, the timing so crucial, but also some of those very, very difficult tricks. It's the event I find that's sort of the most up in the air.
Yeah, I've heard it referred to as character building, which I think is a pretty accurate way to put it. And it's certainly a good way to stay humble, I would say, being a trick skier.
And conditions just absolutely perfect. Wind really not a factor. You sometimes see that the wind plays in. These trick skiers often like to do their toe pass into the tailwind, makes things a little bit easier. But right now with the conditions, athletes not really having to worry about that and getting to go out and do the run they're most comfortable with first.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? We get a little window into their minds. When there's no wind, we can sort of see which run they're more comfortable starting with, which is, I think, kind of fun to see. Different skiers have different preferences. I think a lot of people start with toe tricking just because it's a little bit, the flips can be a little more tiring.
Absolutely.
And they save a little energy for pass number 2. Okay, we move now to the US of A, and in California, it's young Ryan Canepa coming in. And he'll be a name to watch, particularly in the slalom skiing, but no slouch on the trick ski.
And we talked about that little bit of a different strategy, electing to come out on his hand run. We've seen some guys go off the dock on his hand run.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but from memory, Ryan Canepa actually only does hands.
Two hand runs.
I think we're going to see 2 hand runs. This is mainly ski lines and twist turns. You notice no flips there. And I believe on pass number 2, we'll see primarily flips.
Man after my own heart, Curtis.
what it is. It's that stash. That's an extra 1,000 points right there.
That thing is rough. We are about halfway done our men's Series 2. Round here, Ryan being the 6th skier off the dock in this 11-man Series 2. And as we said, the significance of this second round, or this second series, is very important. 12 make it through to the finals. There's 12 men in that first series, so they've kind of earned the right to know what that cut is. These second series guys, they have to go out. They don't know what the cut is. They have to sort of set the bar and have these Series 1 trickers chase them.
Yeah, so the top score from Series 2 will become the bobble, the score that each of the next 12 must exceed to make it through to the final. And already a score of 7,610 points. We could see something similar to that from Ethan McKinnon, who just skied. He had a great 2 stand-up passes. And, of course, on the water returning for a second hand pass will be Ryan Canepa.
Important to note in trick skiing, you can't repeat any trick. So Ryan going out there and doing 2 hand passes, the disadvantage is he needs to have double the amount of hand tricks that anyone else does. So any tricks that get repeated from the first pass do not count here in that second pass.
Yeah, so great stand-up pass. Kind of, you see at the end there, just starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel. He had to do the 2 just classic 360s, not super high scoring, but he used up so many of the other hand tricks in pass number 1, he'd have a lot left. Now, I have a question. My memory is failing me. Did he do back-to-backs in pass number 1?
I believe he did.
So he's taking advantage of this new rule.
Yes.
I did not think we would see that at the Under-21 World Champs, but good on him. Ryan Canepa taking advantage of the new rule. I guess for people who aren't familiar with there was a rule change this winter where they got rid of, I forgot the rule number, but it used to be you couldn't do back-to-backs and 360s. You had to do one or the other, and now you can do actually as many surface turns as you want.
Yeah, which is something I've always been in support of, and I think it's really going to help some of the younger skiers in their development. But as you said, not something we expected to see take here at the Under-21 Worlds.
No, we see a lot of it in collegiate skiing now. It's taken off there, but good on Ryan. He's obviously a studious trick skier and spends his time leafing through the pages of the rule book and squeezing an extra 180 points out there.
Also important to note there, for anyone following at home or not familiar with trick skiing, there is a 6 flip maximum. So with Ryan going out there, he is only limited to those 6 flips in the combined two passes. If it was 6 flips each pass, I think you'd probably see most of our skiers electing to go out there and do 2 hand runs. But that 6 flip rule has really kind of kept toe tricking as a relevant event.
Yeah, and I'm a big toe tricking fan, so I like that, but many people would disagree with me. We move now to Canada, mate. Tell us a bit about this young man.
Yeah, right now, hometown boy, Sean Krause. So from here at Shalom Park, electing to start with the Mo back-to-back and a half cab. Sean, no stranger to the waters here at Shalom. Grandfather Ken Nelson, our host. Ski line back. He's got one more flip here, the half jack. Just casing the wake slightly, not getting the pop. That's sort of the key on that trick. You're in the reverse back position, sort of edging in a switch toe side position. Very, very difficult to come off the wake, and you just saw Sean up a little bit. But that was the last trick in his hand pass, so great skiing from him.
Yeah, very impressed. Was that his younger brother, Evan, we saw earlier?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
very impressed with Evan, first skier off the dock. And so far, the Canadians have averaged a personal best of about 900 points.
Yeah, so not so bad so far for the
A little bit of pressure here on poor Sean, but it's been a great morning so far for the Canadians.
For sure, yeah, he's going to be looking to join his brother and Thomas and set the bar up there. I know he does have, in his run here, I was speaking to him earlier, he does have about 7,000 points in the bag there, so he does have the ability to sort of challenge and be right up in that leader position. Still waiting on the score from Ethan McKinnon, but Sean, I know, capable of getting into that 7,000 point range. So you can just see as we watch the replay here, Sean just pre-turning that trick a little bit early. He was in the back position, came out of it a little bit early and just cased the top of that wake. But as we said, last trick in his run, generally, for some can be a Hail Mary, and don't think it'll cost him too dearly.
Okay, Sean Krause now. He'll be returning rope on toe. And did lose that one trick right there at the end. So it's absolutely critical here for both his chances of making the final and perhaps even for the Canadian team that he stands up this next pass.
Getting a little out of position there on the toe wrap and able to settle in. Going for the toe line back, taking a big hit. Finishing with the toe slide, so a little bit sloppy there on the toe run, not quite as accurate, not quite as precise as he wanted, but still able to stand up, accumulated a bunch of points, so we'll be waiting on the judges for that score.
Yeah, certainly a good example. We talked about how a lot of these guys in particular will see a lot more points from their hand pass, their toe pass, and Sean clearly much stronger in his first 20 seconds in the ladder.
Yeah, absolutely. A hand pass generally a little bit more explosive, a little bit more strength required, so generally see the guys get a little bit more points in that run, whereas when you see the toe tricks, it's usually a bit more about balance, a bit more about poise and being precise. And we got Neely Ross and Anna Gay are probably two of the best toe trickers of all time, able to get so many points. Second toe pass sort of offsets some of the bigger flips and bigger point tricks that some of the guys do.
For sure, for sure. So we down to the final four in Series 2. And next up, we'll go back to Australia. And we saw his older brother just a few skiers ago. It'll be Bailey Christie. Young man, and he very strong trick skier, a little bit stronger in the tricks than Jack. And he will be someone who, if he stands up both passes, will be a strong contender to make it through to that final.
And again, we're still looking at those scores, still waiting on that score of Ethan McKinnon, but our leader currently, Thomas 10,610 points. From all the way from Series 3, we have Luca Rockenwald still in second place, 5,590 points. And Benjamin Turup, 5,400 points, currently sitting in third.
Okay, Bailey Christie now coming in for his 22nd toe pass. And moving through the surface turns pretty quickly here. Very crisp and smooth, not wasting a second. Outside the wake. Do we have some toe steps to finish here from Bailey? No, looks like he almost went for a slightly conservative toe run there. I would have expected a toe line back or something at the end.
Yeah, I like to sneak in those toe side slides, but at 130 points each for how quick they are, sometimes can be a very low risk but very high reward trick.
That's right, and probably Bailey is thinking about a couple things. He's thinking about his Australian team score and, of course, overall as well, and perhaps not worth taking that risk, for a very small gain, and just looking to pile in as many points as he can in that 20 seconds.
Absolutely, and at any time you're at an under-21 World Championships, obviously the team event is in play, so you are representing your country, and people are going for that team title. So you're not just skiing for yourself, and sometimes making decisions like that are what's important for the team.
Well, in other news, I'm very excited to say the sun has come out.
Yeah, finally starting to warm up. When I arrived here yesterday, it was a little bit chilly, even for me being Canadian, cold, but weather's really cooperated. Wind has been perfect all day. Sun's finally coming out and starting to warm things up, so it's really setting off to be a great day for some great skiing.
Okay, Bailey Christie, the young Queenslander, coming back in pass number 2. Opens with some over-the-rope tricks. Outside the wake now into the flips. Looks like a solid stand-up pass.
Passes. Really a very composed skier. Stands very strong over his ski in both hand and toe pass. That was great to see. Lists here on his bio of a personal best of 6,490 points. So he's going to be right around that territory in that run. It's just going to be a matter of sort of the judge's opinion on credit for everything and the time.
Yeah, no, great work. And like you said, very smooth and composed out there. And that's extremely valuable in trick skiing. That probably meant that he was able to squeeze in some extra tricks to some of our other skiers because there were absolutely no bobbles whatsoever out there.
Absolutely. A saying that I, from a movie, to quote the great Mark Wahlberg, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So sometimes you see with those trick skiers.
Is that for a Mark Wahlberg movie?
That's a Mark Wahlberg quote.
I've been using that line for years. I had no idea.
Marky Mark.
Wow.
So our next athlete on the water will be Quinn Haynes, representing the United States. This here tournament PB, 6,100 points. So going to need all of that if he wants to challenge our, and then a bit more if he wants to challenge our current leader, Thomas Dagg, and if he wants to be in that bubble there, putting the pressure on for those Series 1 guys. Because as we said in trick skiing, anything can happen. And if any of those Series 2 guys are on the bubble or 1 or 2 spots away, it only takes 1 or 2 guys to go down a little bit early and, you end up in the finals.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be at least one upset. There always is. So hard to get it right in trick skiing. Quinn Haynes, known primarily as a jumper, and very excited to watching him jump later on, but no slouch on the trick ski. Young man from Connecticut.
So really a strong athlete, built very strong, and you can see it when he jumps. He's a very powerful guy, and on his flips here, you're seeing that sort of power that he uses in his jumping, making it through his hand pass here. Front flip and its reverse. So there you go. Not something you see often, throwing 3 front flips in a run there.
No, very exciting to see. Unfortunately, last one proving a little too much for him. But like you said, explosive power out there on the trick ski.
Just slight under rotation there on that first front flip, and just didn't let him get set up here enough for that half jack. Came up a little bit short.
Beautiful sight here. I don't know how much you know about this place, Stephen, but is it fed from the Saskatchewan River over there?
Yeah, so basically Ken, when Ken dug this property, dug it down and opened up the river to flood it in and then closed it back in. So it's just left this absolutely beautiful valley, these sloped banks, and you and I right now sitting up in the Judges Tower, we're about 4 stories above the water. So one of the most panoramic views that I've ever had at a Waterski lake.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. I've seen many videos, some great drone footage over the years. Of course, the Canadian Open is held here. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
That must have been where I've seen the footage
Canadian
from.
Open, my favorite event annually. I've been fortunate enough to come down for each one of them, and just really an awesome opportunity. Ken and Donna Nelson opening up their home for us. Such a beautiful place, and typically for the kids in Canada, at least, this is a place they come every year to get a bunch of personal bests. So I think it has the potential to see some really big scores, and we have some athletes here who have potential to break some of these world records.
Right, looks like we've got another bloke doing 2 hand passes as Quinn Haynes returns for pass number 2.
Oh, and a smart move there, electing to redo that half jack that he went down on, so that will count as that trick. So really a smart move at the end of his run there to throw that in. We'll have to look for the judges to make sure it was an excellent heads up move there for Quinn Haynes.
Interesting. That's like, in terms of landing, that was probably the smoothest flip he did.
Yeah, and sometimes that's just the difference. We saw him under-rotate the front flip previous to it and didn't have the time in that other run to kind of settle down and get into position and wasn't able to make it. That second run there had a bit more time, was able to have his composure, and we saw how easy he was able to make it. So sometimes it's not just about the difficulty of these tricks, but the sequencing of landing it after one another. It's easy to go out and practice and just land that trick on its own. It's a whole another thing to get that rhythm going and landing those tricks back to back to back. Just 2 more skiers left in this men's Series 2. And as we said, significance of this round is by the end of this round, we will know the cut. And all the athletes in men's Series 1 will know what they need to achieve to make the finals. And right now, Canada's Thomas Dagg, our trick leader.
How do you say his name? So I have been saying it right. Okay. Okay, on the water now out of Austria, Carlo Basic.
Carlo coming in with a personal best, 6,510 points. Which seems to be about around the mark of this series, sort of that 6,000 to 7,000 point range. Wow, I don't know how he's able to settle down and stay over that ski with that front flip. Just overcooking it a little bit, landing right over the tip of the ski, but able to settle down and make it through for a stand-up first pass.
Yeah, quick on his feet there. You know, he was in a bit of a lean lock when he landed that and got all the way out, but managed to cut in such a way for the next flip that he wasn't in trouble. And that's very impressive.
Yeah, you can see there he landed almost past that white water, probably traveled a bit further across than he meant to.
I guess it's important to note, we talk about the kind of mark in the series has been about 6,500, and Thomas Dagg with that huge score, of course, going into this event, that was his personal best, we think, around that mark, 6,500.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Thomas kind of coming out the gate with, I think, roughly about 1,000 point personal best, and we're seeing, as we see these skiers here, that did set that mark very, very high, and it's interesting to see if it does change anybody's strategy later on. Somebody who might have been right around that mark has to throw now a more difficult run, or a run they were planning to do in the finals, as opposed to in the preliminary round. So with Thomas achieving that big score, he does kind of push those people in Series 1 I'd be curious to see as we move in here some of the best scores from some of our Series 1 skiers to see if they are actually in excess of that 7,600 point.
Yeah, and again, we talk about strategy a little bit. It's interesting, everyone has different opinions on this. Some people will be watching these scores, every 30 seconds updating on their phone, but some people, I think, just try and remove themselves from that altogether and just kind of focus on what they need to do out there. And so I think for some people, the scores before them aren't going to worry them. But for some people, they're going to be smart and perhaps, like you say, adjust their runs based on that.
Absolutely, and it's a different, it's whatever works best for you, right? Some people operate a little bit better just not knowing, going out, doing themselves and kind of isolating. And other people are a little bit motivated with the more scores and are a little more strategic with what they do. I know there are some of the pro trick skiers out there who are tallying the score as their competitors are going, and as they go off the dock, they're already knowing the run they're going to do to win that event. It is one of the advantages as well for those people who do like to know that score. That is the right you've earned with going in that later series, is you've sort of earned the right to know that score before you go out. But right now, Carlo Basic on the water for his second of two 20-second passes.
Looking very smooth here. Not lightning fast, but plenty of good points as he goes over the line. And some toe slides to finish.
That's 2 stand-up runs for him. We do have some more scores that have come in. Our current leader, as we said, 7,610 points is Thomas Dagg. Currently sitting in the second place spot, Ernst Nielsen, 6,810 points. Ethan McKinnon, we've been waiting on that score, 6,020 points. And in fourth, Luca Rockenwald, 5,590 points. So Thomas still sitting in that lead. Ernst Nielsen right behind him at that 78-10. And one of those scores right now is looking like it's going to be the mark with just one more skier left in the Series 2.
Yeah, if I were a betting man, I would punch Thomas Daigle's ticket through to the final with that score. And I would think that it's going to be very close for our competitor from Denmark, Ernst Nielsen. Or is
Absolutely.
that to Ernst Nielsen? I'm not quite sure which way around you're supposed to say his name.
I have them on different orders in both lists here, so
yeah,
maybe we'll try one way and one the other.
We'll alternate. If we say it enough different ways, we're bound to get it right eventually. But I would think 68-10, in years past, that's about the score that gets you through. And every year you start strong and you think it's going to be this crazy cut, and usually it just sneaks back a little bit as sort of things happen out there. And so I think that Ernst Nielsen's got a good chance here.
Yeah, he put that score out there. We knew that 7,000 point mark is going to be right on the bubble, and he put a score out there for it. And as we go, like we said, some of these Series 1 skiers might need their entire run. They might have a personal best right around that 6,800 point mark, and anything can happen. And once that pressure's put on, it changes things. This is a World Championships, and a trick run's hard enough to stand up just in practice. So.
For sure. We go now to Spain. Danny Texador Jr. Young man opening up with the hand pass. Over the line. Very crisp and smooth. Plenty of height into the flips now. Piling on the points. These are quick, these flips. He's getting through them with plenty of time to spare.
That was a great start to that run there. Beautiful wake 5, ski line back to back, ski line back. Really set him up. Then towards the end of the run where he loaded in those flips. So a great first run for him and tallied up a bunch of points. I think if he stands up by the looks of that, I think he's going to be right around that 7,000 point mark.
Now the score coming through for Ryan Canepa of 6,390 points. So that puts him right in the mix as well. Slips him into third place right now.
This being our first event as well, we are getting to see sort of the first scores from our overall skiers. As I look here into Series 1, a lot of these top trickers are also going to be competing in the overall round. So it's not just about punching your ticket to the finals in that individual competition. It's also about going out there and setting a strong score for yourself in the overall competition, because it can sort of be twofold. If you go out there and you fall in the preliminary round, now not only do you not make finals, but you're also now in the overall competition with a low score and no opportunity to improve.
That's right, yeah. The overall skiers and as well the team skiers have that extra burden of the prelim could end up being their only round, so they have to make it count. And I look forward to watching this overall event unfold over the weekend. Probably my favourite event overall. It's a little neglected at times, but it's going to be a great battle. We've got some sensational skiers. Of course, the defending champion, Danilo Filchenko from the Ukraine. He's probably the favourite. But of course, we got the Brits, Joel Poland, Robert Hazelwood. They'll be strong contenders. We've got the Georges brothers from Argentina, of course, coached by the former overall great Javier Julio, and they'll be ones to watch as well. And a few others there in the mix as well.
In this men's under 21, there's such strong overall skiers. These guys have been coming up for a number of years. I watched, I had the pleasure of going to the Junior Worlds in Chile, which was the same sort of group now, just a few years later. And the overall scores and the overall battle they had was just unbelievable. And in that event, Joe Poland coming away with the overall title. But just awesome to see this thick, rich group of up-and-coming overall skiers is really good to see.
Pass number 2 now, Danny Texador Jr. of Spain. Moving through the toe surface turns pretty smoothly. Oh no, he looked great there. I have no idea what happened.
As I look there, I think we might have to look at the replay. As he came out of that toe wrap, and it did appear that his binding came released. As I saw there, his foot off the ski. So we watch here on the replay, right as he comes out of the trick here, his foot came unclipped as he came to the front. So a bit of an equipment malfunction there. He was in fine position, maybe a little bit in the back seat, but that binding did release.
Devastation. Absolute devastation for poor Danny Texador Jr., who, to my mind, and I have been proven right, I guess, looked fantastic out there. He had no issues at all on that. And just coming out of that toe 5 front, his bindings come completely detached from the ski. And that is absolutely bizarre.
Yeah, not anything you ever want to see. Obviously, most of these trick skiers are going to use that same style binding where it's a hard shell clipped onto a ski. And occasionally, anytime you have a mechanical mechanism like that, they do fail. And unfortunately, it cost Danny a fall there.
Yeah, well, that's a big upset there. But it means now we move into Series 1 tricks. These next 12 skiers will have to exceed 7,610 points to be guaranteed a spot through to the final. The big dance, of course, Saturday afternoon here, which for a lot of these skiers means 2 stand-up passes.
And for those of you following along at home, we are broadcasting live, worldwaterskiers.com. Athleting from all over the world, friends, family, watching along. As the week progresses, the webcast will become more substantial. Live interviews, live replays for our final Saturday, Sunday. We're just on a brief hold here as we move from Men's Series 2 into Men's Series 1. Just do a brief crew change of the boat, probably put in some gas. That Nautique towboat will go up and down for a phantom pass. And then we move on to Men's Series 1, and we'll find out who will be our skiers competing in that final round. First skier off the dock will be Federico Jaramillo from Colombia.
Yeah, and great to see such a fantastic quality webcast being put out here. It's really I think webcast technology has improved in leaps and bounds in recent years. It's gone from, being one bloke with his, old camera through some spotty internet connection to stuff that's, right on, broadcast TV quality.
Absolutely, and yeah, the hard work Tom Gray, Jarrett Llewellyn, and the guys from World Waterskiers put, behind the scenes and the days and the setup leading up to it is, it doesn't often get appreciated, and the product that they do put together is just every year and every event I come to better and better. Obviously fortunate here at Shalom Park, we have this nice pavilion that we're up on, so we get this nice elevated vantage point for this preliminary webcast. So broadcasting from the boat as well as, our view, we kind of have the best seats in the house up here, and sharing that with the folks at home.
That's fantastic. So just doing a quick simulation pass here. Federico Jaramillo, one thing I do know about him is he's the defending under 17 slalom champion, and very strong in tricks as well.
Yeah, as we look here at his profile on worldwaterskiers.com, personal best 9,790 points. So he's the first one off the dock in Series 1, but obviously not the lowest seed. He's got that knocking on that door, that 10,000 point mark, and he's going to be looking to sort of set that new standard, to go way above that number of Thomas Dagg, punch his ticket to the finals, and set that he looks like with that score, he could be in a contention for a medal.
Yeah, for sure. That's going to be right up around, I anticipate, what it takes to make the podium here. Perhaps if everything goes really well, in excess of 10,000 points, but that would be truly remarkable.
Well, yeah, so far with that cut, as we talked about that high score, 7,600 points, we do have competitors here who have achieved beyond that 10,000 point mark. Pato Font, for example.
Yeah. We'll see how it unfolds, but oftentimes what will happen when you have someone like a Thomas Daigle go out early and set such a high score, it puts the pressure on the next skiers and actually can lead to higher results than otherwise would have happened. This could be, the spark that ignites, 12 sensational runs of trick.
And I mean, the conditions are here are completely conducive to that. There's absolutely no wind. The nautique is running absolutely perfectly. Wake's great. So we have the potential here to see 12 really huge scores and some personal bests, and we do have the potential for some world records to go down.
Yeah, that would be sensational. Of course, later on we'll have Patricio Font, who holds the junior world trick record, I understand. And I'm not quite sure what the under 21 world records are.
Just looking that up right now. So in 2011, Alexander Pato of France did set the record 11,470 points.
Well, that's pretty good.
So that's a pretty huge mark out there. Anytime you're getting in that 11,000 point range, things are getting pretty serious, and he's almost halfway through the 11,000 points.
Yeah, and I think that's right up around Pato's personal best, who I believe has the highest personal best in this field. So that one's going to be a tough one to knock down.
Absolutely, but not impossible. As we said, conditions are good. Pato can do it, and the pressure of that Worlds, like you said, could add that extra spark that he needs to go home with another world record.
Yeah. I'd love to get some feedback from some of the skiers on what ballast they're running on this lake. It's not super deep, I don't imagine, this lake.
No, down the one end especially, I believe it's about 10 to 8 feet kind of throughout the whole thing. It gets a little shallower as we move towards the far end. We'll have some of that information actually Saturday and Sunday. So Saturday and Sunday we'll be doing some live interviews with athletes after their set, interviewing the winners and things like that. So we'll have the opportunity to kind of pick their brain a little bit, get some of that info from them, see what they're running.
I'm just a bit of a water ski nerd. That stuff just tends to interest me.
I have a feeling if you're on this webcast right now, you're a bit of a water ski
nerd
too.
If you're tuning in at 8 a.m. for series 3 and 2 men's tricks.
We either got family members or diehard fans.
That's right.
It is remarkable just to see how much this weather's turned the last few days. Just yesterday when I was here, it was about 10 degrees colder, and we had a 20 to 30 kilometer an hour wind coming straight at the backs of the jumpers. Things were looking a little dicey, and I know some of the looks on the faces of skiers as they started arriving with the cold and the weather, you could see the stress on their faces, but Mother Nature's kind of cooperated, and conditions are just absolutely perfect. Couldn't be any better.
Yeah, great to see. I myself looked at the forecast a few days ago, and I was a little bit concerned. I had to stop on the way and pick up a cardigan. But it has come out fantastic here. Very Canadian experience to have a waterski lake and 200 meters away to have a snow ski hill.
We'd have it no other way.
No other way, yeah. Do any ice skating on the lake in winter, I'm sure.
Just a reminder to everybody, we do have on-site photography. My man, David Crowder, the man behind the lens. Where are you, Dave? Wave to everybody. We had a discussion about the length of his camera lens yesterday, but we'll just leave that for another day. But Dave does have a tent set up down by the starting dock, and if you go down with your bib number, all the photos after the event will be loaded there. Purchase your photos from Dave. He is my favorite photographer, my personal photographer.
I never got good enough to have a personal photographer.
It's not for everyone.
No.
But no, check it out. Dave, just such a talented guy, just absolutely passionate about what he does, loves water skiing. We're super lucky to have him here, and go check out his tent. He's got it all set up by bib number, and you get to purchase your shots of yourself competing at a world championship. And as someone who's becoming a little later in life, trust me, you'll look back on these times with fond memories.
Okay, taking to the water now, we kick into Series 1's trick. It's Federico Jaramillo from Colombia. Young man, very strong in both the Solemn and trick event.
And as we said, personal best, 9,700 points, just shy of that 10,000 point mark.
Opening up rope on toe trains, primarily down in Florida with the great Corey Picos. Oh no. Going down midway through that toe pass.
And that's what we mentioned, that the trick events can be over like that. So doesn't mean he's done. He was able to get quite a few points in that first run, and I imagine the bulk of his points are in that second hand pass. So still does have the ability with a personal best near that 10,000 point mark, despite that early fall, to still gain enough points to make it into that final and to challenge, that mark that we see of Thomas, 7,610 points.
That's right. If he stands up this hand, he'll be right in the mix there for making it through to that final. But talk about putting some pressure on himself out there. Had no idea your singing voice was so good, Stevie. Well, big moment here for young Federico Jaramillo. Must stand up this hand pass if he wants to punch his ticket through to the trick final. We could be witnessing one of our first big upsets here at these World Championships. A potential medalist going down midway through pass number 1. Tense moment. The ski nautique roars into course. 20 seconds away from hopefully punching his ticket through to that final is young Federico Jaramillo. Moving through some nice quick ski lines here as Federico into the flips. 2 flips in, 4 away from making this final. Looking good so far. Has he got some mobs to finish?
He's going to need this reverse. Sticks the reverse hand back-to-back, so we will wait on the judges' scorecard. That was an awful there in pass number 2. I think that might be enough.
Yeah, he doesn't look so sure, but I think that looking at that score of 7-6-10 from Thomas Dagg, he's put a lot of pressure on himself, and he's thinking that's the score it's going to take to make the final. I'm still thinking the cut is going to be a little bit lower in sort of the high 6s, but certainly if the next 11 skiers all stand up, he could be in some trouble.
Absolutely, and it happens just as quick as that, right? Jaramillo going out there with the personal best, right in that 10,000 point range and goes down a little bit earlier than expected on that toe pass. That's how things happen in tricking, and sometimes, your top seed can go down in a spot that you never thought possible, and somebody who had counted themselves out of the finals ends up in.
Yeah, just this is completely unrelated, but what do you think that's going on the dock right now in terms of people getting out screwdrivers and all sorts and adjusting their reflex releases after what happened to poor old Danny Texador Jr.?
Yeah, I think there's some definitely pit crew action happening on the dock right now.
There'll be some checking going on for sure.
So we do have a score in from our last skier in men's Series 2, Danny Texeter Jr., 4,490 points.
Yeah, and you see almost all those points coming from pass 1. Pass number 2 going down quite early with that gear malfunction. Disappointing for him.
Yeah, obviously not the score he wanted, and even with that early fall, he was well on his way there with, he accumulated already that 4,490. It would have been really interesting to see without that unfortunate malfunction how close he could have come. So right now 3, Thomas Dagg still sitting in top, 7,610. Ernst Nielsen, 6,810 points. And Ryan Canepa, 6,390 points. Those are our 3 leaders currently. 11 more skiers left on the dock. 12 spots in our men's final. And the next skier on the water, representing the Ukraine, Alexander Semilov.
So I've heard stories about the Ukrainian ski program, and they've probably been embellished a little bit, but it's certainly a story, I would say. So there's this guy in the Ukraine, he's built this beautiful site. I actually had the pleasure to go there and ski as a cable site and a traditional 3-event water ski site. And basically what he's done, passionate, water skiing guy, he's found young children that show sort of exceptional balance, and he's basically adopted them into a ski program and just trained them. I was going to say year round, but of course that's not possible in the Ukraine. Perhaps they do some swimming pool training in the off season. And he has produced some sensational skiers in recent years. I mean, the Ukraine is becoming a powerhouse of world water skiing, just off the sort of passion of this one guy. You know, he wanted to create, you know, world champions basically, and so far he's been successful.
Yeah, and sometimes that's all it takes, right? You just get a passionate person who has a love for the sport, and it's amazing what they can accomplish. You know, it's an environment that feeds off that. You know, Canadians have always been very, very strong in water skiing, despite not in that climate, and a lot of that is that passion driven from guys like Jarrett Llewellyn and things like that. And that's really all it takes is you have that sort of beacon. Jarrett sort of carried that Canadian torch for so long, and then through that you see Canadian champions coming up, basically right under Jarrett and walking in his footsteps. Most notably right now is son Dorian.
Yeah. You know, we talked a little bit about, you know, the overall battle this weekend, and it is a bit of a lament of mine that we have right now. We have some of the best overall skiers the world's ever seen, and we don't actually get to see them compete very often. I do believe there was a tournament last weekend in Wisconsin that had a bit of an overall battle in it.
Yeah. That's always been a great event. I haven't had the opportunity to actually go and witness it, but I love anytime I see people celebrating that overall event. It's one of the most difficult things to compete at, in my opinion, in sports, right? 3 completely different events that really don't have too much correlation from one to the next. Just because you're a good jumper doesn't mean you're going to hop on a slalom ski and be able to run through 10.25. It's they're all completely different and require their own complete skill set and their own sets of training. So often these overall athletes skiing 4 or 5, you know, sometimes up to 6 times in a day, 5 days a week, just putting countless hours on the water.
Yeah. Yeah, and to achieve, you know, a level of proficiency in one event that sort of certain people dedicate their whole life to, but then to do it in 3 events is just astounding.
Yeah, we have athletes here, like for example, Joe Poland being one of those guys, Rob Hazelwood. They have the potential to podium individually in all 3 events, not just the overall.
It's crazy. Okay, so Alexander Samolov of the Ukraine now coming in to open up his Under-21 Worlds campaign.
Just an unbelievable display of ski line tricks there at the end of the run. You can really see that cable background coming into play there. He's just able to effortlessly get up and over that line. That was very impressive to see.
Yeah, you know, depending on what's in time there, I think that could be the highest scoring hand run we've seen yet today.
Absolutely, and rightfully so. Coming in with a PB here, over 10,000 points, 10,120 points. We could see why. Not only the high difficulty with the flips, which is sort of where so far we've seen a lot of the strengths, it's following those flips up with that series of ski lines and those very, very difficult ski lines. That's what's going to accumulate them that massive amount of points.
Yeah, you did right, and that's what's going to separate, you know, the winning of this event from sort of the people that are just outside the podium. It's sort of once we get to that top level, everyone's doing 6 flips. In fact, they're all doing 6 high-scoring flips. It's who can squeeze in, you know, 3 instead of 2 ski lines, or, you know, that extra trick or that slightly higher scoring trick at the end or the start, depending on their run.
Yep, absolutely. And sometimes that's even where runs can play into it when it comes to it, right? It could be somebody needs to throw a ski line 5 instead of a ski line 0, and that can be the difference. It literally to just that 180.
Yeah. It's a funny old sport tricking, you know, when you start out as a little kid, you improve quite quickly because you have to fill 40 seconds. And then you get to that point where you have to start dropping tricks out to improve, and it's kind of heartbreaking. It's like, oh, you know, I'm doing something way harder for an extra 20 points or something like that. But that's really what it is at this level. It's a game of inches, and sometimes, you know, a much higher difficulty trick is going to be put in place of one that's only sort of 50 points less.
And then it becomes that's where that balancing game comes in. Does the risk really pay off the reward? And you see some real creativity. I've always loved that about Pato Font, where Pato always plays around with his runs. He's always kind of playing with that risk versus reward, and it's obviously paid off with junior world record. But right now on the water, we have Alexander. We saw that huge point hand run. We mentioned coming from that cable background. Let's see what he can do past number 2, the toe run. So far, just blistering speed through this toe run, wasting absolutely no time, moving into the toe line tricks. This is where you'll see all the points in that toe run. Toe line 5 back, 540 while jumping over the rope. Ski line back-to-back and the reverse, 2 stand-up runs. That right there is a man we will see again in the finals, guaranteed.
That's right. I'm not anywhere near as organized as the great Desbert Kennedy, but if I were, I'd be pulling out my highlighter right now and putting a streak right through Alexander Samilov's name, because he will be through to the trick final, no doubt. That was an absolutely sensational toe run.
And for those of you watching along on the webcast, we're just getting to look at the replay here, and you can just see the power and the balance required of some of these tricks coming in here to his ski line or his toe line 5 back, jumping up over the rope, completing a 540 and landing backwards. Just such a difficult trick, and really making them look these toe lines look a lot easier than they are.
Yeah, cleanest toe line 5s I've ever seen.
And you could see right as he came forward, he already threw the fist. He knew that was going to be enough. Plus, as we mentioned, that overall, right, he just set himself out a big score right off the bat. So not only is he going to have a chance in the finals now to improve, he's already kind of tricking off of his list. 2 stand-up runs. Overall, tricking is done. He can move on now and focus on the next 2.
Yeah, and back to this talk about the teams competition. The Ukraine, who I believe only have about 4 skiers, are actually strong contenders in that team competition, despite not having a full 6. In fact, I think at the last U21 Worlds we had a similar thing play out where they got 2nd or 3rd with just 4 skiers.
Yeah. Which is that's a testament to that program you mentioned earlier, the talent coming out of there. So now up on the water from France, Lindsay Bourdier.
Yep, tricking sensation. And probably not someone used to the cool climate of northern Canada. Of course, did a lot of skiing growing up in Madagascar.
And another athlete I do believe has a personal best over 10,000 points, but there again, going down a little bit early. We saw him throw a number of hard tricks there, did accumulate a number of points, but in that tricking game, unless you see that athlete go all the way down to the end of the lake, they're going to be missing some big points.
Yep, yeah, he certainly put a little bit of pressure on himself now. Stand-up toe pass, though, I still think he'll sneak.
And in personal best, highest so far, 10,470 points. That just means he does have that room. He has almost 3,000 point buffer to lose to still be in that running to make the finals, but that's not going to be what he wants for overall. So even if he does punch that ticket into the finals, he still needs to focus on tricking to get that big score if he wants to challenge for that overall title. So there is still hope for him, but it's not exactly what he wanted. You kind of, as an overall skier, you want to hit that first round out of the park, and you can kind of takes the pressure off.
For sure, for sure. Real talent. Lindsay Bourdier of France.
Lists his weight here is 0 kilograms, but I'm not sure that's accurate.
Look, he's very light out there, and I think you'll see toe tricking. He's going to look like he's basically just hovering above the water, but I'm sure he does weigh a little more than 0 kilograms.
So we are still waiting on that score from Federico Jaramillo. Basically looking to see, is it more than that 76-10 point mark that will guarantee him into the finals? Anything less than that, he will have to sit and wait.
Yep, nervous wait, always is, as the trick event unfolds. I think I'd be feeling quietly confident if I was Federico.
And it seems like in this series, a lot of the strong skiers did in the random order end up coming out early. So oftentimes we do see in a seeded event, each skier does get stronger and the event kind of builds. So the likelihood of someone making the finals does increase as the day goes. Not the case here with this jumbled up format.
I think it makes it fun, the random order. In fact, I think it would be even more fun if there were no series and it was completely random. So we had, went from a 10,000 point tricker to someone, tricking 1,500 points. I think that it really adds to the excitement.
Absolutely.
Sort of never know what you're going to get.
But right now on the water from France, Lindsey Bourgier on his second pass, the toe pass. So very deliberate with his movements here through the toe pass. Had a bit of an early fall on pass number 1, so he's going to want to get everything he can here. Very impressive toe line 5 there. The toe line back-to-back.
Well, just what I thought I'd seen, like the cleanest toe line 5 I've ever seen. I think Lindsey Bourdier's kind of done a slightly better one even. And that's amazing to land that and go straight into the next trick with no hesitation.
Yeah, I challenge anyone here on shore, just standing where you are, jump up, spin a 540, and see if you can walk straight afterwards.
And land on one leg.
Yeah, so just the difficulty in trick skiing is just so insane. If anybody at home has actually gotten up and tried to ski on a trick ski and just felt how slippery a surface it is, and then imagine, on one leg, jumping over the rope, spinning a 540, it's a trick I've always dreamt of doing that I will continue to dream of doing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he certainly looked 0 kgs out there while he was doing that one. Okay, well, exciting times here. If you are somewhere on the banks not watching the skiing, I suggest you get down because we have probably a hot favorite here in the trick event. Representing Mexico, it will be Patricio Font. Of course, so we saw him just about a month ago take out the US Masters down there in Callaway Gardens. The junior world record holder, former junior world champion. And he is really one to watch in years to come. Personal best in excess of 11,000 points.
Yeah, and Pato's one of those kids who you've seen coming. Sort of at 10 years old, 11 years old, you started to see the stuff that he could do, and you saw that potential. And the fact that he's able to have gone from that ability and just learned all these huge tricks at such a young age, and he's already able to put them all into a run, and a fairly polished run. And he's been over 11,000 points, I think, multiple times. It's just insane things coming for this young man in the future. So eyes on the water. Make sure you're watching. Current junior world record, Pato Font.
So that's with the toe 720. We haven't seen a lot of that so far this morning.
Tends to be a high point trick, but it takes quite a while. But with Pato's rope control, he gets through it so quick. He's able to still get in these high point steps at the end. And I believe that was a bit of a conservative run there for Pato at the end. I think he was just doing what he needed to do, making sure he gets through to the finals, no drama, no mess, and he's going to throw that big run in the finals, looking for that.
Yeah, I agree. That looked to me to be a B run there from Pato, and it's funny to call that a B run because that's something that most water skiers would aspire to throughout their entire life, but looked fairly conservative, and that's all he needs to get through.
And that's really a testament to Pato's dedication to his craft. He's such a dedicated trick skier. He loves the event. He studies the event. And that's sort of that strategy we talked about earlier. Pato's one of those guys who has multiple runs. He usually has a plan. He knows what the cut's going to be. And he just goes out and executes. And right there we kind of saw that, going out with an easier toe run than we've seen from him, not electing to do those high point ski lines, but he doesn't need to right now. There's no benefit to doing that. He just needs to make his way into the finals nice and safe, and then he's going to set himself up to throw that big run and go for the gold.
Yeah, excited to watch this next pass. And like you said, he certainly was some we saw coming. I'm not sure if he still holds this distinction. It perhaps has been superseded, but at one time, Pato, I believe, was the youngest person to ever trick 10,000 points. And it's quite possible he still holds that.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody who would have in that short period of time had beaten him to it, but yeah, he's been throwing down huge scores from a very young age, and it's really, he hit 10,000 points at a very early age, but that gap between 10,000 and 11,000 points is just so big. As we talked about, at that point, you filled up your 20 seconds. We're talking you take a really high risk, put a high risk trick in, you take a low risk trick out, and maybe you get a 50 point reward, and you have to do those 50-point adjustments to the tune of 1,000 points.
Right.
To make that gap. And the fact that he's done it this early and this consistently, really it's unheard of in the trick event.
Yep. Very impressive young man. Okay, about halfway through, if he gets 10 seconds through this pass, I'm saying he's through to the final.
Absolutely. I think his hand run alone would be to making it. Starting off with the Mo back-to-backs. Into the half-jack front flip, starting back, finishing forward.
Yep, put him through to the final.
And then this is what we talked about here at the end. Still has energy for all these ski lines. Ski line 5, ski line 0, ski line back-to-back. Double wake back, 2 stand-up runs. And I expected nothing less from the young man from Mexico.
The replay of this half-jack here. It's funny, it's a trick that about 2 years ago I had pretty much never seen anyone do in a tournament, and it's about the 3rd or 4th one we've seen this morning.
Yeah, one of those newer tricks, front flips over the last few years have sort of become more prominent. The half jack being added in, the addition of being able to do 2 front flips, the front flip and its reverse, has really opened it up for a lot of these trickers. And so far, yeah, we've seen, I believe Quinn Haynes went out there, the only athlete so far, did 3 front flips, 3 super high point, high value tricks. But I don't think many people do the half jack there, the front flip starting in the back position better than Pato.
No, very clean. And of course, those ski lines at the end, those add a lot of points. You know, the ski line 5, the ski line O's, and to be able to do those in time after 6 flips, that's really what sets, you know, a sort of a 10+ thousand point tricker versus a 9,000 point tricker.
Absolutely, and if you were to compare tricking in a hand run to a sport, it's sort of like the 200-meter dash, where it's a full sprint for 20 full seconds. If you've ever gone out there and try and run 100 meters, you know, for 10 seconds as hard as you can, you're gassed by the end of it. And Pato going full on for 20 full seconds and still has the energy after doing all of those flips to do the ski lines. It's just an unbelievable thing to do, and his cardio, his athleticism, his explosion, like it's all there in that trick run.
I would say a good analogy was it probably takes me 20 seconds to run 100 meters. And so I'm doing about half as many tricks as Pato in 20 seconds, and they're certainly not as high scoring either. So we move now back to the Ukraine again with Damir Filaretov. And this bloke doesn't look to be super old. Pretty young guy out there on the water. Probably a name to watch in years to come.
We talked about that team being so small. Obviously, you know, this young man, probably the looks of it, still able to compete in the junior worlds, but here at the under 21 world showing his stuff and competing. Like, this is a very impressive run. Making it all the way through to the end. Great stand-up pass for him.
All right, looks like we have a couple scores through here. So guaranteed through to the final now, we have Alexander Samolov of the Ukraine with a score of 10,110 points. Joining him in the final for sure will be Thomas Dagg with his 7,610. And now on the bobble, a nervous wait it will be for Federico Jaramillo with a score of 6,880 points.
Yeah, so we saw with that early fall, he was able to get quite a few points in, and he's put himself right on that bubble. We talked about Ernst Nielsen, that 68-10 being, you know, he put himself out there, he put himself right in that position, and just 60 points from Federico, right?
And that could be all the difference.
Absolutely, and still, like, a bunch of skiers left to come, so we don't know what's going to happen. That's just how things sit, assuming that all of these skiers do stand up the runs and exceed that mark. But, yeah, eagerly waiting on will be Federico on shore, seeing if he's going to get a chance to trick again.
Yeah, well, so far you would think that young Damir is looking good shot to make this final. A great opening hand pass. And I would expect him to be pretty proficient on rope on toe. A smaller, younger guy. Probably doesn't quite have the power of some of the other guys for the big flips. But I am picking that he is going to be sensational on toes.
Absolutely. And with some of that background from the Ukrainian skiers, as you mentioned, skiing in pools and with cables and things like that, they tend to just be so proficient in their toe tricks.
Right, it's a line control, right?
Natalia comes to mind of somebody she has such brilliant line control, and she always attests that to the training she did as a child in the pools and
Which
and
is
on the
huge
cables and
for
things like
the
that.
ski lines, which you saw be very good at, but also the toe tricking is all about line control.
Absolutely. So we're likely here going to see from him just some really textbook, really strong toe tricking. Looks like he's going to start with a toe 5.
Okay, through the surface stuff now. Over the rope he goes. The toe line O is good. Toe line back. Has he got a toe line back to back? Just goes down. And he's lost some points there. Of course, there was a toe O there out of the toe 5 front, which he split. Although actually, in the context of his run, he might not lose points because he doesn't have any toe 180s. Now we're getting really technical. But that last trick is big points. I think that run still, though, is going to be up, you know, in the high 7s, perhaps even 8,000 points. I think it's going to be enough.
Yeah, it was a great first run. He got through just about everything, just going down on that toe line back-to-back. So about 450 points he'll be down there on that. But
I suspect there was perhaps a reverse there to follow.
yeah, could have been a
time.
Could have been a reverse. Always depends on time. That reverse toe line back-to-back is often a trick that skiers are, you know, you need to have a pretty solid run to get it in. We mentioned he had that bobble on that toe O, so might not have been in time anyway, but still able to accumulate a lot of. He's definitely going to be looking to right around that 7,000 point range. So another person that you know, Federico is going to be really watching to see what that score comes out, because it's going to be right in that mark. And that's how quick it happens. We said we had that huge mark set, and you assume everybody's gonna pass it, but that's just not how the trick event works.
For sure. Okay, just 7 trickers left now in this men's elimination round. Right now, the score to beat 6,880 points. Federico Jaramillo sitting on the bobble. And we'll go now to Italy. And I always like it when we have Italian competitors because their names tend to be really fun to say. Next up will be Edoardo Morenzi. I had to move my hands a little bit for that one to get the juices flowing.
To get the pronunciation just right.
The pronunciation's all on the wrists. Of course, we've got to look for Lindsay Bordier's score as well. He's going to be right around that bobble, you would think, after his fall.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be very interesting to see where these scores all kind of finish out. That high 6,000, 60,000 point mark's really going to be that magic number. You called it early on, and it does always seem to kind of work that way out, where even if a big score goes out early, those scores are fairly consistent year to year.
Yeah, I've been coming to tournaments like these for a while, and it's amazing how predictable the cuts tend to be. You know, every year they're pretty much the same. You know, it's like the level is advancing somewhat at the top end, but it's that cut for the top 12 is always about the same. And I think a lot of that has to do with, it's not that these skiers aren't capable of more, but in the pressure of the big tournament, you know, there's always going to be some mishaps, and it always ends up being a sort of similar mark from year to year.
Yep. Yeah, it just shows, right, a World Championships, it's that added factor. It's that sort of X factor. It's a little bit different. The pressure's on. You know, you are representing your team. I know for myself, that was always a big source of anxiety for myself when I was competing. If I was competing for myself, generally pressure was off. But as soon as I knew I was out there competing for my teammates, it just added that extra bit of pressure and that want to not just do it for myself, but also to have a score for them and to win that team title. So the team event definitely adds something to these competitions.
Yeah, no, it'll be fun to watch it unfold. I haven't taken a great look at the teams, but I would imagine that Canada, home site, will be a force to be reckoned with. The US, always strong. I think the Ukraine has a pretty solid chance. And there'll be a few other dark horses in the mix, the likes of Great Britain, Australia, France. Certainly will be contenders as well.
The defending champions are the Canadians, so the winners in 2017 of the team title. Most of those skiers still competing here, so that was a very young team. Paige Reaney, Neely Ross, Dominique Allard, Thomas Dagg, Cole McCormick, and Dorian Llewellyn. So that team of Canadians did take home the team title in 2017, so they are that defending team.
Only Cole and Dorian you've lost there from that team.
Yes, so it's still a very strong team, and a lot of those athletes were younger during that event, so they've improved quite a bit through that. So still a really strong team coming out of Canada. The United States finished second in that competition, and Belarus was third. So if you look in the past, in 2015, USA was the winner. Belarus came second, and France was in third. So those are sort of your main players that you're always going to kind of see in there. Canada, US, France. We mentioned the Ukraine even here, and Belarus as of late have come on very well.
Yep. So what's on the program for the rest of the day, Stephen? We got through all the men's tricks, and then we do some slaloming?
Yes, so we're moving into the slalom immediately following that. We'll just have a brief course change here. We'll bring some of the buoys up. Obviously, the slalom course is missing right now, so we'll be on a brief hold just as we switch everything over, and then we move on to slalom.
When does the tournament really kick off? When's the first jumping action? Do I have to wait till tomorrow for that?
Well, now you've stumped me, Curtis.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to scroll through my phone here.
Through your phone.
I'd studied today's schedule. Now you're asking about tomorrow. That's for tonight.
That's for tonight. I just want to know when the jumping starts.
Men's Series 3 jump, 9 a.m., Saturday, July 6th. So you have to wait, Curtis.
No, there's got to be some jumping before Saturday. I think there's some on tomorrow afternoon.
I think the women jump in the afternoon tomorrow, men jump morning.
Okay. I get itchy feet otherwise.
So in the trick event, in order for the judges to see what the athletes are doing, we do have a camera positioned in the boat that is broadcasting a live feed to our judges. We're just having some small our technical controller, Zachary Moore, taking great care of us, making sure everything's up and running. Zach's usually on site weeks ahead of time, making sure all the wires are pulled, cameras are working, and he's got things fixed.
Well, it certainly looks that way because we have a skier on the water.
We are back on the water.
And I'll enjoy saying it one more time. Pato Morenzi of Italy coming in rope on toe. Looking pretty cool, calm and collected here as he makes his way through this opening pass.
A great rope control through that toe-o wrap-in sequence. Moving into his toe lines. Toe line back to back. And it's reverse. And a stand-up toe run for him. So again, whenever you see that toe line back-to-back reverse, it's always going to come down to that timing. It looked like he moved really quickly through that hand run, had no bobbles, great rope control. You could just see one trick right to the next. So we'll be waiting on the judges, but I have a feeling that that trick there could have been in time.
Certainly to my untrained eye, it looked like a full pass in time there.
All right, we have another score. Lindsay Bourgier, 7,140 points. So as we said, things were going to get tight in that low 7s, high 8,000 point mark. And I do believe unofficially that does put Lindsay through.
Yep, and the nervous wait continues for poor old Federico Jaramillo. And there is nothing in this now. We're down to, 10-point margins. Wow.
So it can happen that quick. We already have two trickers capable of tricking 10,000 points, 3,000 points down, sort of in that 7,000 point range, and still a few guys left to come. So the surprise right now for me is still the young Canadian, Thomas Dagg, sitting in second place in trick skiing. I think if you would have asked that young man coming into this event, would you be sitting in second place in the trick event at any point, I believe he would say no.
Okay, coming back in now for hands is Eduardo Morenzi. Oh,
no!
Well, Federico Jaramillo has just made his way through to the men's trick final, and big upset as Eduardo goes down on that opening ski line back-to-back.
And we've said it, and we'll continue to say it, but tricking is just so unforgiving. It looked like a fine trick. He just came forward a little bit too soon before the rope came tight and caught that edge. That's all she wrote in the trick event. So Jaramillo can take a deep breath. Federico gets to sit on shore, take a sigh of relief. He will get a chance to score. He will get a chance to trick again. But really, truly an upsetting early fall there from Eduardo.
Well, the bubble now shifts down to Ernst Nielsen of Denmark.
Yeah, just sitting 60 points behind. He did have that good run. It was impressive. We knew it was going to be right on that mark, and that's why, right? One athlete down, now all of a sudden he's the man sitting on shore kind of watching things. And so he'll kind of be looking on anxiously for these remaining 5 skiers.
We almost need like a chair where the person on the bubble sits on camera and we can watch their reactions. Wouldn't that be great television?
I think we might be arranging something similar for that for Sunday.
I think you got to do it during the eliminations. I guess you could do a winner's chair.
I think there's going to be a winner's chair.
But I think it'd be fun to do a bubble.
We'll have to mention it to...
Yeah, we'll talk to the people in charge.
Other people will talk to their people.
Yeah.
And we'll see if we can arrange
It'd be easier to do, I guess, during Solomon Jump where the scores come through right away.
So our next skier will be Pablo Font, who is actually the cousin of Pato Font. And same as Pato, I've actually had the chance to see Pablo the last few years up in Mexico and training with his father Jorge, and the relationship those two have as coach and athlete is really unbelievable. They write notes every set. They have a spreadsheet for how the set went, and his dad actually gives Pablo the opportunity to on how he did as a coach that day, and they actually have this relationship where they work back and forth of how can I improve as a coach and how can you improve as a skier, and it's actually one of the most inspiring coaching relationships father-son that I've seen, and it's really paid off. They record every score, and if you ever talk to his dad, he'll be able to show you a chart of all of his scores on a spreadsheet and stuff. So just an awesome relationship the two have, and it's great to see Pablo out here competing. He is young for this competition. I still believe he's in the junior ranks, but had scores that were sufficient to ski here in Series 1, so let's see what he can do.
Yeah, looks to be opening up with that toe 720, just like his cousin did. A little bobble there on the but he's recovered as he goes over the line outside the wake. And some good stuff here. Both toe line back-to-backs and a finish.
Great tricking. Those were very clean toe line tricks. Toe line back-to-back and its reverse, and that toe line, just great tricking from that young man.
Fantastic stuff. And great to hear that he has such a good relationship with his father as a coach, because I know often when kids grow up skiing, even if they are good coaches, which sometimes they're not, they tend to not want to listen to their parents. And sometimes you have to get somebody else in who's saying the exact same thing for the kid to listen.
Absolutely. and that was one of the things that I really appreciated when I first saw it, is that mutual respect that they have for each other. It is very rare to be able to have that relationship with your child where you can cross that boundary from parent and coach and back.
Well, I know I never listened to my dad. Perhaps I should have a little more often.
Well, Jorge, no slouch to competition himself. I believe he has many world records and many world championships to his own name in the adaptive side of water skiing, sort of in the adaptive side of skiing. So definitely someone he can learn from. And in the boat, he's got his uncle pinning for him right now. So the other thing I do always like to note here in ski tournaments is how many times you see last names repeating. Even in a tournament like the U21 Worlds, it is such a family event. You'll see brothers, sisters, parents. You'll see multi-generations. It's just always a family sport where names come and they just continue to evolve and revolve, right, where you see them come around and around. We had the Donaldson brothers early on. We had the Christie brothers from Australia as well. The cousins, Pablo and Pato Font. So really a family sport, always has been, always will be, and is one of my favorite things about it.
Yeah, you're right. So many second-generation skiers coming through. Of course, the Fonts, Sergio, force on the Pro Tour back in the day. We'll see Robert Hazelwood later on. Hazelwood, that name synonymous with water skiing in England. And also in the women's as well. A lot of, like Anna Gay and Neely Ross coming from great water skiing backgrounds. Pedrini as well, yes, of course. Okay, Pablo making his way through pass number 2.
And this young man has a lot of surface spins. He's very, very good at it. Been working hard on his flips lately, and that's going to be what's going to put him into the next that next high point value. And great stand-up run, Pablo Font.
Maintains an incredible axis over the ski on all these surface spins and the ski lines. A little bit slower on the flips, not able to get through them quite as quickly as the rest of his tricks, but these are so crisp, these sort of wake 540s and over the rope tricks, that I think he's going to have enough points to squeeze them through here.
Yeah, and it's an important thing that I think for some of these young athletes to realize is some of those more technical points, the wake fives, the ski line tricks, they're so much more difficult to learn, and taking the time as a young athlete to learn those tricks and to solidify that technique really sets up your foundation. The flips are tricks that generally come with a little bit more strength, a little bit more size and power. So if you can learn those tricks at a young age and set a base like a young man like Pablo, as he gets older and stronger and more explosive, those flips are going to come, and he's going to have that base behind him to sort of add on to those points, and we'll see him in the 10,000 point range, I'm sure, in a few years. And we have a score for Pato Font.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
11,510 points.
So provisionally,
that is an unofficial under 21 world's record, and I believe we accused him of having a conservative toe run.
We did.
On a world record. So that's how easy he made
it
look, a preliminary world record with a conservative toe run. But we could have been wrong on that one. That's a pretty big score.
That's a huge score.
So 11,510 points.
And here I was thinking that Alexandre Poitou's world record was going to stand for some time.
Yeah, when I read that off and it was halfway through the 11,000 point range, that's a pretty tall task. And right away in the prelims, Pato makes quick work of that and unofficially adds another world record to to his bag, and that's 2 in a year. Not too shabby.
Sensational. Absolutely sensational. How on fire is Pato Font right now? Come off the back of a Masters title. He's just broken a world record.
Now, you'd mentioned he was the first tricker to go over 10,000 points. Do you think he was the youngest to go over 11?
Probably, yeah.
Because I don't know if
I don't know that
he's
he's still the first to go over 10. There's some other young trickers that have come through that perhaps have beaten him on that, and he was very close. I think Nearly Ross was right around the same age. But I would say pretty confidently he's the youngest to go over 11.
So now from Argentina, Tobias Gregoris.
Yeah, and Tobias and, of course, his brother Ignacio, very strong overall skiers. Look forward to watching them across all 3 events. And that is a solid opening toe pass there from the young Argentinian.
So still sitting on the bank, anxiously watching on. Sitting on the bubble, we have Ernst Nielsen. So
Yeah.
came out pretty early there in Series 2 and threw out that score, put it out there, and that's all you can do as a Series 2 athlete. And now he's sitting on the bubble and coming to this event, maybe hoping to make the finals. That was probably a goal of his, right in that sort of mid-range in that Series 2, and sort of put the pressure on these remaining 5 guys. All do have the capability of tricking in excess of that quite handily. But again, anything can happen in the trick event.
Yep, we've certainly seen that so far today. And part of what makes it, I think, one of the more exciting events is that it really is a mixed bag. You know, in jump, you always have those 3 opportunities. In slalom, you get those kind of warm-up passes. But in tricks, you got to go out there guns blazing. And we tend to get the most sort of variation in results because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we've seen in slalom sometimes it can become easy to predict the podium. Same with jump. It's pretty easy to tell who's going to kind of finish on top, and tricking has never been that way. You know, even in the days of a dominant skier like Corey Picos, it's never a given.
Okay, Tobias Georges. Hand pass now. Over the line he goes. Moving quickly through these basic flips into the higher difficulty ones now. Oh, cases the wake hard on the mob. He almost pulled out of it, but he can't. So in the end, goes down. And I don't know that it's going to be quite enough. It's going to be...
That's going to be right close in that margin, that flip there at the end, that mob, an 800-point flip, a huge point value there and going down. So, again, Ernst Nielsen going to be looking on for that score right there to see if, you know, is that going to be enough to make it through the final?
Yeah, it looks like we have another score through for Damir Filaretov, and he is through to the final, only just, though, with 7,010 points. And probably won't want to hear it, but Eduardo Morenzi will not be making it through the final. Unfortunately, just scoring 4,420, which is a good toe pass, but unable to get any points.
Yeah, that's a very impressive score on toe pass. He had set himself up quite well, but just that unfortunate fall in that first trick, that ski line back-to-back. Devastating, honestly. One of the worst things that can happen in tricking is you go down on that first trick, but great performance from him on the toe run, so he can at least look back on that.
Right, next on the dock, if my memory serves me correctly, we have our defending champion in the U21 men's tricks, Danilo Filchenko of the Ukraine. And he has got to be one of the most discussed names in world water skiing the last couple months. Of course, known primarily as a trick skier, very strong in overall as well. He took the world of water skiing by storm back in May at the Masters LCQ when he jumped about a 26-foot personal best, or a, what's that, like an 8-meter PB?
8-meter personal best.
Yeah.
Not a bad day.
And not just like, I've seen people do 8-meter P, I don't know, 20 to 28 meters, but this was a little bit different. This was...
Yeah, almost from 60 to 70 meters.
Yeah.
Which is generally a pretty big gap.
Pretty big gap, yeah. And
yeah,
so
I remember watching that jump, just so impressive. And you could tell he was knocking on the door, but it didn't look out of control or anything crazy. It didn't look like it was a one-off. He's just so strong and came on right at the right time.
Yep, and no slouch in the trick event as well. He has a personal best in excess of 10,000 points. The skiing sensation from the Ukraine, Danilo Filchenko, opens up with the Mobes. Over the line he goes. Some high-scoring ski lines to finish. Ski line 5 is good, and that's a stand-up hand pass there.
2 ski line 5s and then that ski line back-to-back at the end, and that's where those huge points come in. We saw him do those high point flips. He had the 2 Mobes. Those are 800-point flips. He had the back landings. Those are 750 points. Huge point flips, but as we mentioned, a lot of the top guys did 2 Mobes. A lot of the top guys do back landings. It's those ski line 5, that ski line 5 front, ski line 5 back. That's where those extra points come, and that's where you separate those sort of, some of our current guys on the bubble, that 7,000, 8,000 point range up to the 10,000 point range is really, that's the difference.
Yeah. And with a hand pass like that to open, he only needs to make it a few tricks now into this toe pass to punch his ticket through to the final.
A run like that would be probably fairly close to 6,000 points, mid 5s to 6,000 points, depending on what's in. So really only needing a couple hundred points here, probably 2 or 3 tricks into this run. He'll have punched his ticket. But again, he's competing in the overall.
Yes.
So he's not necessarily just thinking about trick, and he's not just thinking about making it into the final. He needs to put the pressure on for some of our other skiers, the Joe Polans, the Robinson. Tricking's his strength. Tricking's one of the things that he has over those guys, so he's going to be looking to push that score to get that big score out there that kind of makes up the gap that he has with Joel and Rob in some of the other events.
Yeah, and he can almost look at this round, because he's done so well, as he can be a little riskier.
Absolutely.
Right, because he knows he only has to get 2 or 3 tricks here in this toe pass. If he can throw some big toe lines at the end, perhaps he falls, not a huge deal, but if he gets that really big score in the prelims, it takes the pressure off going into the finals.
Absolutely, and that's what's so fun about the overall. It just adds that extra dimension of, is he going to push it, is he not? If he was just a trick specialist, it might be easy to go out here, throw an easy run, punch to the finals, because that's really going to be your goal, is to set that spot in the finals. But for an overall skier, they need to take advantage of every time they're on the water and to try and get that big score. So I'd be curious to see what he does here towards the end of this second run, and if he throws some big tricks and tries to put that pressure on.
Okay, Danilo Filchenko, he's through to the final. What can he do now to finish? Lightning quick through these toe spins. Can't grab the rope. And those have got to be some of the quickest toe wrap-ins I've ever seen.
Just excellent rope control, just wasted absolutely no time. But do you think maybe what we talked about there played into effect? He was rushing a little bit, trying to make sure he could get those high points in at the end of the run, and just went down in a very uncharacteristic way, on a very uncharacteristic trick. But when you're pushing it, when you're trying to go fast and push things to your limit, that's what can happen. So I imagine he's still probably into the finals. There was quite a few tricks there that he made, but definitely not by the margin that he was expecting.
No, I mean, I'd put my house on him making it through the final. But you could see there on that toe out, he just lost balance a little bit and tried to rush too quickly into the next one and unable to ride it out. But had he have got a hold of that, he was making such good time, he could have squeezed perhaps even an extra trick in there at the end.
And perhaps that was his goal out there. Just got a little bit ahead of himself, as we said, thinking about that overall round, and went down. But as we said, probably enough tricks to get him through. We'll probably get a chance to see him again and push for that overall title. But it is interesting to see now with the next 2 gentlemen coming out, Joe Poland and Rob Hazelwood. Again, not quite as strong in tricking as Danilo, but they just saw him go down. So again, trying to push and keep as close to that score as they can for that overall title is going to be these guys' focus. They all know making it to the finals is sort of a conclusion in here for that overall.
For sure. Yep. Great to see these two young men representing Great Britain.
I think it's a toss-up between Australia and Great Britain right now on Team Spirit out here.
Team Spirit, yeah. Yeah, they got plenty of flags. I say it felt quite good crossing into the Canadian border and seeing the Queen back on the money and the metric system out in full force. And not made a lot of, but Commonwealth very strong and in World Waterskiing. Like to just piggyback myself in there any way I can.
Right. On the water, Joel Poland. Starting off, only person of the day, toe wake 5 back. A very risky first trick. It's definitely not an easy first trick. Most people opt to do the surface 5 back or the surface 7, but Joel really going for it here, throwing a huge toe run into the toe line back-to-back, and it's reverse and stands up the toe run. And that's a lot of points right there in a toe run.
He's a happy young lad, isn't he? You look at his reaction there at the end, and like you said, toe wake 5 back. Pretty rare trick to open with, but certainly never looked phased on it at all.
And Joel just has, another one of those guys. He has that great base. He learned those really good toe tricks as a kid, the ski lines, and had that base. And now that he's a bit older, and explosives are just unbelievable. And that's what's able to keep him in that next echelon was that background. As I said, the flips always come, and sometimes young trick skiers are a little eager to learn the flips and to get those points early on, and it becomes difficult later on to cross into that next threshold. So Joel really has that base, but then once you see him on the water upside down and flipping his trick ski, it's pretty impressive. One of the most talented flippers in the world on a trick ski.
Yeah, very comfortable upside down.
And Joel, another good example of someone he really has fun on the water. He really sort of embraces it. It's a job for him, but you'll always see him smiling. You'll always see him laughing and having a good time, and really embodies a lot of what the sport should be about. He's just out to have a good time. He's super talented. He takes it seriously, don't get me wrong, but he's out there to have fun.
Yep. Yeah, no, great attitude, this young man. Certainly a pleasure to spend time with.
So eyes on the water. Joel Poland, one of the most dynamic hand passes. Starting off with the Mobes. Mobe back-to-back, and it's reverse. Into the half jack, front flip, back to front. Back landing, and it's reverse. And a half cab flip. So 6 very high point flips, and here we go into the ski line tricks. Ooh. Ski line 5 getting a little deep, still going back. He's through to the finals. Great skiing from him, and you could just see at the end of his run just willing himself through it. Came up a little bit short, but didn't stop. Didn't even stop for a second to gain his composure. Just kept going.
I reckon he just about needed to wear a snorkel for those last 4 tricks. I don't know how he got a breath in. He was underwater for most of it, but can't believe, like he was holding on to there is just amazing.
So probably not enough to challenge, Pato right now for the lead. Maybe not enough to challenge even for second right now, but in that 9,000, mid 9,000 point range, I think is where.
Look, he's in the final, and that's his first job, and he's ticked that box.
Ticked that box and set himself a strong overall score. Probably not exactly what he wanted, but he knows he went out there. He did about 90% of what he wanted to do, and for an overall skier, that's pretty good.
Right, and it looks like some more scores came through. Pato Font will be through to the final, the score of 7,900 points. And still, though, sitting on the bobble will be Ernst Nielsen. And we have a score through for Tobias Georges. And remember that 6,810 is the score you have to beat to make it through the final. He has tricked 6,980 points, which means he has just squeaked through there.
Absolutely. And again, that pocket, that's 6,800 to 7,000 point range. That's that spot right there, and we knew he did enough. 6,980 puts him through.
Well, the nervous wait continues. All the way back at the start of Series 2, we saw 2 Ernst Nielsen of Denmark score 6,810 points. There are 2 skiers left on the dock, and based off our calculations, if they exceed his score, he will just miss out. That is the mark to beat. As we move to Joel Poland's compatriot in Robert Hazelwood. And him on the water, I don't know the exact medical details, but he pretty much had his arm fall off back in January.
I was not expecting them to see here after I heard about that injury. In fact, I'd heard he was even expecting to miss the World Championships in Malaysia due to the seriousness of the injury. And when I talked to him, he said his body it healed very, very quickly. He had some excellent rehab, and he feels 100%, and he's on the water here to show us what he can do at the Under-21 Worlds.
Yep, and whatever's attaching it, whether it's duct tape or screws or whatever, it certainly looks like it's doing the job as he makes his way through this opening hand pass. No lack of strength there. And this sensational opening pass. Oh no, just misses the rope there on that ski line. I don't think it'll really matter as long as he can get a decent way down that toe pass.
No, again, with a lot of these athletes, we're not talking about a couple hundred points needed to make the finals. There's several thousand points on their total runs from what they need, so missing a trick here or there isn't going to affect him going into the finals. But it does mean that overall score won't quite be as high as we're expecting. So I always like to play into that overall score where we're sitting. Joel probably just set the bar from that overall race. He's kind of got that big score out there. As well as Alexander.
Yeah.
So Alexander now knows he's got that big trick score, that 10,110 points. He's sort of got that 1,000 overall point at the moment.
Yeah.
For the overall.
It actually it does play, a score like that plays into the hands of some of the weaker trickers though. I don't know how strong Alexander is in slalom and jump, but he's squashing tricks as an event with such a high score, which can advantage actually some of the other trickers.
Yeah.
Some of the overall skiers that are weaker in tricks.
And that's another fascinating part about overall is it depends on who's there. If somebody goes out there and throws an absolutely massive score down, you can sort of lower some of the other scores and make some events, somebody's strong event, not as relevant.
Right. This is actually how I taught myself to do math when I was a kid, was overall.
I never figured it out. I need my papers here.
Used to get the calculator out.
And conditions have just continued to be absolutely perfect. Just maybe a breath of a wind coming up, but most of the day absolutely flat, calm. Wind not a factor. Nice bright day. Sun's come out. It's nice and warm, and I couldn't think of better weather, better conditions to be sitting up here watching the world's best do it.
Well, I will say, we're talking a little about itchy feet later on. That breeze that's kicking up is just a little bit of a head breeze. So I know that we have a schedule and we'll stick to it, especially when the weather's good like this. But geez, I hope it's like
real jumper.
I hope it's like this tomorrow and Saturday when we start jumping.
Yeah, that was always something I noted. I'd be out there slaloming, realizing how nice the headwind was for jump.
Yeah.
On the water, Robert Hazelwood, second of 2 30-second passes. Made it most of the way through that hand pass. Just had a slight bobble on his ski line. I believe at this point he's already done enough to make the finals, but he's going to look to get every point he can. Get as close to... And that's enough. So he throws the fist. He knows he's through the finals. 2 stand-up runs. Not perfect. He knows he's left a little bit more on the table, but he's done enough.
Yeah. No, great work there from Robert. He'll be through to the final, and the nervous wait now continues. Who will be our last person to join the final? Will it be 2 Ernst Nielsen of Denmark, or will it be our final competitor, Ignacio Georges of Argentina?
Yeah, so that score we're looking at, we've talked about it all broadcast long, 6,810 points. That's the mark to beat. I'm not sure what Ignacio's personal best is. But as we said, as we move through this, some of the skiers do need all of that to achieve that score. So it'll be interesting to see where he sits in that bracket and how close to that mark his personal best is.
Sure, just confirming Danilo Furchenko will be through to the final, a score of 8,270 points. Of course, pretty far down on what he can score, but enough to get him through.
And even going down that early on a Toa wrap-in, right? Still 8,200 points. It just shows how many points he gained in that first run.
Well, that first pass, 6,310. So he only needed 500 points on toes to make it the final.
A 6,300 point run is just that's 11,000 point territory.
Sure.
So he was putting a run out there, looking to challenge Pato. So it's not a given for Pato. There's still some very talented guys here pushing the door, and it looks like if Danilo was to stand up that toe run, he could put that
v
pressure
Pato
on.
is going to be the big battle come the trick finals on Saturday afternoon.
But so far, 2 trickers already over the 10,000 point mark, and Pato over the 11,000, over halfway through the 11,000 point mark. So great scores so far. Great skiing from the hometown Canadian contingent. 2 skiers down, 2 personal bests, and like as you said earlier, about
not
a
just
900
personal
point average and personal best. So Shalom Park being very friendly to the hometown Canadians, and we hope that continues as the weekend goes on. And coming into the course, Ignacio for his preliminary round, our last skier in the men's prelim. 6,810 points, the mark to beat. Ernst Nielsen anxiously watching on shore. Let's see what he can do.
Nice smooth start to this toe pass for Ignacio. He needs to get through pretty much all of it here. Toe steps are looking good as he goes over the line. Plenty of height, good control, and finishes there with a stand-up toe run.
So again, does look like a similar toe run to those athletes that are sitting on the bubble, the Thomas Daggs and such. So does look like he's going to be right in that sort of mid-7s to high 6 range, and going to need all this hand pass here to achieve it.
Yep, Denmark v Argentina. Not sure that face-off has been discussed very often in the world, but that's what's going down right now. Who will punch the ticket for the last spot through to this men's trick final, which will prove, I'm sure, to be an absolute cracker. Perhaps we'll see another 1,000-point personal best from Thomas Daigle. One can only hope.
I think you might have to learn some tricks between now and then to accomplish that.
Yeah, you throw a little tinny over there in the river.
And just to show how close it is, right now we have Ernst Nelson sitting on the bubble at 68.10. All the way up to 7th place. It's only a 200-point difference.
Yeah.
So we're talking less than half a backflip worth of points. Like just so close from being comfortably into the finals to being in that nervous position sitting on the bank.
Yeah, it's the difference between them is about the equivalent of Ryan Canepa's Surface 360s.
Exactly, that new rule.
That new rule. Maybe we'll see Ignacio do a Surface 360.
And
somehow I doubt it.
And again, we're looking at somebody who's going to be right in that same mix stat into there, so we could have even one more skier on that mark. But let's see what he can do. He's going to need to get all the way through this if he wants to be close.
So far, so good.
Everything
he moves
looking
towards
good.
the end of his flips. What's he got to finish? Over the line. Very smooth. Ski line back-to-back is good. One more time, the ski line. Oh, he may have done it.
Stand-up second run. He throws the fist. Threw some sneaky tricks in there at the end. I think it's going to come down to time.
Yeah.
And the judges' calls on that. But I think we have one more athlete right in on the bubble. And unfortunately, I don't think that our friend is going to get to take a breath anytime soon. Ernst Nielsen is going to have to wait for that score to come out.
It's going to be a real nail-biter.
So wherever he is on the bank, we're thinking about him. We'll be waiting on the judge's call on that score, but that was our final tricker here in the men's preliminary round. 12 make it through to the finals. Just waiting on the score from our last skiers to make the official call. But currently, Pato Font, Alexander Samilov, Daniel Flichenko, Pablo Font, Thomas Dagg, Lindsay Bourgier, Damir Filatarov, Tobias Grigoris, and Federico Jaramillo will all have an opportunity to ski again. So we'll be on a brief hold. Slalom will start at 12 p.m. So as we take a small break here, technical break, get the slalom course up, have about a 45-minute break. We're coming up with women's 3, Series 3 slalom at 12 o'clock. Sweet. Dude, that's awesome you're here. That's so much easier. So hard talking to yourself for 4 days. I'm tired of hearing myself talk by the end.
Yeah.
Will you shut up?
It's tough. It's tough when you're talking to yourself. You don't really know whether you're being interesting or not.